Hi folks, and welcome to TK Power Sports. These days, if you want to go for a cruise on a big comfy couch PWC, there are more options than ever. But if you're still looking for thrills out on the water, well, luckily Yamaha has you covered with this. This is the GP1800R high output, and we're going to go out there, do a top speed run, and let you know just how fun this machine is. The GP1800R is still the machine you go for if you want those high thrills when you're out there riding a PWC. Now, I do have to let you know, this is the HO. You could also get the SVHO, so the supercharged version of this same model. But if you want to save a couple bucks, this is the one you're going to go for. It's got a little bit less power, but outside of that, everything else is the same as that more powerful SVHO model. And now let's go over all the features. So first of all, we open up the nose storage up here. This is 28.5 gallons of storage. It's not horrible. It is definitely smaller than some of those full-size luxury machines I mentioned, like an FX from Yamaha, but it's still more than enough to put a big cooler or a good-sized bag in there and bring that along with you. Now we move back. We do get a nice set of hard mirrors here as well. Plus you get these ram mounts. You can see these little threaded mounts up here. This allows you to put all kinds of different things right onto your Waverunner, phone holders, things like that. So as we come back, we get to the next storage. This is right between the rider's legs. Incredibly deep here, which is handy, and there's more stuff than ever these days that we carry with us. Car keys, phones, wallets. That's always a nice place to toss all of that sort of stuff. Now we can take a look underneath this seat and see what we see as well. So that pops off like so. And we do get a little storage bin here at the back as well, which is, again, super handy. If you're going somewhere, you want to bring some stuff with you, toss it in the storage bin, it's out of the way, and then that bin can also come with you if you're hopping off onto an island or something like that. And finally, take off the main part of the seat, revealing that high output engine. That is a 1.8 liter, 4-cylinder high output engine. Once again, you can get a supercharged version of it, but this one is not that. And I will point out, a lot of machines, this engine bay is totally open. Here on the GP1800R, you have this extra cross brace, and I can only imagine this is for rigidity. It's for stability of this entire unit, again, because it's expected to do that high performance stuff. So let's see how easy it is to get back on here. There's one. Oh, probably should put the bin back in first. There's two. And there's three. And that's the other thing I want to point out is here, this passenger seat, unlike a lot of other PWCs, there's a little bit more of a ridge here, more to hold on to. This machine wasn't designed with this person in mind, so this is basically just a little flat section here. If you really care about your passengers, this is not necessarily the machine you're going to go for. As we get to the back, you are getting a hook here, so if you want to tow somebody for some tow sports, you can do that. A decent sized little swim platform with some nice flooring, and then you do get the very basic swim step, but that's going to make a big difference, again, especially for a big guy like me, getting back up onto this machine. When it comes to overall size, the GP1800R HO has a dry weight of 717 pounds, an overall length of 131.9 inches, width of 48.8 inches, and an overall height of 47.2 inches. And now here we are riding on this GP1800R. So the first thing I actually want to show you guys, I like to demonstrate this on PWCs, is the stability, because this is a fun machine and it is slightly smaller than other sort of full-size PWCs, but compared to a sport PWC from the 90s, yeah, this thing is huge. It's basically a small boat, and the point I can illustrate that with is this. If I stand up and I weigh 300 pounds, I can stand in one footwell and not take on water. Close, I could make it take on if I leaned over, but the point there is, yeah, again, one of those little 90s machines, I couldn't do that. The machines used to be so small, and that's not the case anymore. So I just want you to get a sense for, yes, this is still a fun, focused machine, but it's quite large, it's quite heavy, slow speed stability, might not be as good as some other Waverunners, but it's still pretty dang good. So getting on and off the dock, stuff like that, is really no big deal.
Let me go over the basic operations here as well. So you jump on the red start stop button, hold it down, and the machine starts, and hopefully you can see right there, it starts in neutral. So in neutral, it won't move, but it will go in tight circles. So that's nice and neutral. Now, if you just pop the throttle, you go into forward and you start moving forward. Pop that left and you go into neutral, and then hold the left, and that's your reverse. Really intuitive, really smart, just, you know, right forward, left backwards is basically all you have to remember. And then when you're moving at full speed, if you do grab the left, the reverse, it also acts as a water brake. So very basic controls here, very similar to a Sea-Doo, except for on Sea-Doo, you have to hold the left while you throttle the right for reverse. So one slight difference there. I actually think the Yamaha is slightly more intuitive, simply for the reason that the right handlebar or the right handle here is for forward and the left is for backwards, and that's all you ever have to think about. There's a couple of modes here I want to show you from behind the camera as well. First one is no wake mode. So just cruising along here and forward, not touching the throttle, you hold that down, and now we're in no wake. And basically that's going to move us along at as fast a speed as possible, but not creating a wake. So if you live in a speed limited zone or a no wake zone, you don't actually have to worry about holding the throttle just a little bit down. You're able just to do this, and away it goes all on its own. That's pretty handy. Now the next feature is the cruise control. You can see it says cruise, so you won't be able to hear me when I'm doing it, but what happens is once you're up to speed, you hit the cruise button, and that allows you to go full throttle, which is a more comfortable hand position, but the machine will stay at that speed. So if you're doing a long lake crossing or ocean crossing and you just want consistent speed, or if you're towing someone behind you, it's nice to be able to just squeeze the throttle, stay at that speed, and I'll show you how it works now. So you saw it there. I locked it in at about 65 kilometers an hour. And then if that's too fast, you can then use the buttons on the handlebar to adjust your speed while you're moving as well. So again, a feature that I especially like if you have a long distance to go, it's nice to have that little bit of extra hand comfort over here on your right hand.
When it comes time to dock, Yamaha actually has a docking mode. It's called TDE forward. So that's all you do. You leave it in neutral, you press forward on the handlebar, and it puts it in TDE forward. Now you're saying, well, you're barely moving, and that's the exact idea. This Waverunner is now just gonna creep forward as slowly as possible. So when you're coming into a dock, it's just a stress-free experience. And I have to say, I think this is a great system. I haven't seen other manufacturers with a similar system, but it just makes sense. I don't care if you're on a sport machine or a luxury machine, everybody has to dock, and it's usually the most stressful point of owning, honestly, any watercraft, but a PWC too. So this is the key. Look at this, super slow, super controlled. I'm able to talk to it with one hand, and then I can pop it back in neutral. I can even pop it in reverse just to slow myself down, shut it off, and look at that, you're right in at the dock. So I really do believe that is a industry best, industry leading feature that I don't see other PWC manufacturers offer, but the Waverunners have it, and it is great. Now let's talk handling, because that is truly the reason you buy a GP1800R. Yamaha gives you that ride plate on the back end, and the entire point there, I mean, you can almost picture it like an upside down wing in the water. That thing is just sucking the entire hull of this Waverunner down to make sure you're stuck in the water. And what that results in is an ultra aggressive ride. When you throw this thing into a tight corner at speed, it just sticks. It's ridiculous. I kept expecting it to sort of break traction with the water, to bring the back end around, or to want to kind of high side me over the top, and that just never happened. I even thought today I'd push it so hard that I would bail, and I never bailed, and I think that's really a testament to this GP1800R. It never did anything I didn't expect, and again, when I was really being aggressive on it, it just dug in every single time I threw it into one of those corners. So when I say aggressive, this machine also demands a lot of the rider. When you're riding it hard, because it sticks so hard, you're just really bracing yourself. You're holding on tight to those handlebars. It's not exactly kind of a comfort-focused machine, and that comes forward right away when you just throw it into a turn. Now, ergonomically, I fit great on here. I had no problems. I like that the seat is a little skinnier than some other PWCs to allow for this. You want to be able to use your thighs and your legs to really squeeze this seat, because that's providing you some of that stability, and I like that as well. And then it's also important that these handlebars, they do tilt. So when I was to stand up, you tilt it all the way forward, and it really does make a nice difference in the comfort of the machine. And then sitting down, you drop them back down, and there they are. Decent rubber wrapped handles here too, and I really like that they have a little finger bolster almost. So again, when you're digging into those handles, it's got a really nice grip for your hands. Talking about the power here on the GP1800R, this, in my humble opinion, is perfect. The match of the power to the handling is excellent. And I say that because you could get the GP1800R SVHO. You can get a supercharged version of this exact same unit. Now, of course, would I like the extra top speed? Sure, I like to go fast too. But let me say, when you're doing those ultra aggressive riding maneuvers, you don't need that extra power, and having it just means more fatigue on your arms and legs because you're just holding on to that machine. So because this thing is designed just to grab the water like that, I also think the power pairing here is just right. If you're an ultimate speed demon, sure, the SVHO is there and it's nice we have an option, but I truly believe that this is probably the one to get, because the power just doesn't make it that intimidating to ride. It matches the performance of the handling really nicely. But of course, that's all subjective. Now you're asking, well, how quick does it go? Well, you know what? I did a top speed run so you guys can follow along.
And now, folks, it's time for the top speed run here on the GP1800R HO. Let's see what it'll do, and let's see if I can find flat enough water to get it to do it. Here we go. Come on, baby, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, I saw 102 kilometers per hour. Of course, someone a little lighter than me might get a little bit more out of it, but that gives you a good sense for the top speed. And let me just say too here that 100 kilometers an hour on the water is ridiculous feeling, but in the best way.
No doubt this thing is focused on that riding experience, but just because of the day and age we're in, it's also full of all the luxury comfort features. I mean, I have a beautiful screen up in front of me. You control it using this D-pad down here, but once again, you have all of the information you're ever going to want. You have speed and acceleration settings, so if you want to cap the speed for maybe a novice rider, you can do that as well. I appreciate that. There's a pin setup, so if you want to lock off your Waverunner and make someone go in and enter a pin to make it run, you you can do that as well. And then, hey, with the fun stuff, I have a full Bluetooth audio system here, and I can hook up my phone to this thing and crank my tunes. You know what? Whether you like it or not, that's a common thing these days. People want to take their music and all of their comforts of home with them. I would say it is fun first, but all of that comfort luxury stuff, it's right there as well. Now, finally, of course, you're asking, what does it cost? Finished in azure blue, which I have to say I absolutely love this color. This unit, as it sits, costs $14,200. All right, folks, that's the end of this one. I had a blast out here on this GP1800R. What a wicked performance machine. Now, of course, I want to hear what you think, so why don't you go below into the comments, let me know what you think of this GP1800R and all of our Waverunner video and all of our testing. As always, while you're down below, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Trucking to see what we're testing next. And if you'll excuse me, I got lots more riding to do. See ya!